If you're looking for a free and quick bag making project, this is the tutorial for you. Welcome back to Country Cow Designs, I'm Jo, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these. But what are they? Well, these are our roll-up shopping bags. So these are super handy for taking to the shops with you. They roll up really nice and small, but they're actually really big when you need to make use of them. So this was originally a blog post by Adam, and you can probably tell it's by Adam because it includes a bit of leather. So it was really popular. We decided that we'd make a video tutorial for you guys. This is really quick, really simple to make. The only bit that you might find unusual is that we've got a little bit of leather work going on in here, and we're using rivet magnetic snaps. So for the leather, you are going to need a machine that sews through leather. Adam is going to be using his industrial sewing machine, his Sailrite fabricator in this tutorial. However, depending on the thickness of the leather, you may be able to do this on your straight stitch machine with a leather needle. It all depends on your machine and the leather that you're using, but you know your machine best, and if you want to give it a try, you can give it a try. So this is a super simple one. Let's get started. The first thing you need to do is get your materials prepped. So we have a piece of leather that is 4 inches by 4 inches, a piece of leather that's 4 inches by 12 inches, and this is going to be the flap, so you can shape the end if you want to. You can leave it as a rectangle, but it's up to you. If you're going to shape it, try to find something to use as a template. So for this one we used this tin lid, or you could use a round paperweight or something like that. Whatever you like to make the shape that you want. You're also going to need your 2 rivet-backed magnetic snaps, 2 handles, so this is 1 inch wide webbing and it's 24 inches long. And you're also going to need your 2 main panels, so I'm using wax canvas for this one. Waterproof canvas or any other heavyweight canvas would be great for this bag too. Both of these panels are cut 24 inches by 17 inches. Okay, so we'll start with the main panels. These are taller than they are wide. What we're going to do is from the top edge, we're going to mark 1 inch down. So if you have a directional print, make sure that you're measuring from the top edge. And if you're using wax canvas like me, you can just use an awl to lightly mark the fabric. And this usually works for waterproof canvas as well. So you're going to grab that top edge and fold it down to meet the line. If you have a seam roller, this can help create a nice neat edge. Then you're going to fold it again so that that raw edge is completely hidden. Now I'm going to top stitch this in place using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the second panel. Once that's sewn, just set your panels aside for a moment. So grab your longer piece of leather, and if you haven't already, you can shape the end to whatever shape you want. Now we're going to measure and mark 1 inch and 3 inch up from this end, and we're going to fit 2 male magnetic snaps, so they're the ones with the sticking out bit, onto here. Now this is the right side of the leather, this is the wrong side of the leather. You want the actual magnetic snap to be on the wrong side. So you can see that I've got them pre-marked, so I'm just going to punch a hole there so that I can fit my magnetic snaps. So make sure the rivets are on the right side of the leather, and now I'll take this over to my hand press and set those in place. Now those are fitted, we're going to fit one of the female magnetic snaps up here. So I'll just try and separate these. There we go. We're going to measure 1 inch in, and we're going to fit that with it on the right side of the leather, and the rivet will be on the wrong side of the leather. I'll take that over to my hand press and set that in place. Okay, so then we're going to fit the final female magnetic snap to this little square piece of leather. This is 1 inch down and centered from the top edge. Okay, so set your leather pieces aside just for a moment. And now we're going to measure and mark a line on the main panel. So we're doing it 5 inches down from the top edge, and the line is going to be 4 inches wide and centered. We're just doing this on one of the pieces. make sure that you're doing it on the right side of the panel. So not this side with the seam, but the side that has no seams. So start off by marking the center, and then you can just mark 2 inches out from each side. That will give you your 4-inch line. Okay, so grab your longer piece of leather. What you want is for this to be sat on the line, and it's going to be pointing up away from the bag. So you can just fix this in place with a bit of double-sided tape or fabric glue or something on this line. I'm going to use some clips because it's very difficult to get anything to stick to this wax canvas. So be careful using clips on leather because it can leave its teeth marks. So that's why I'm using these leather covered bulldog clips. Now what we want to do is sew a box, sewing this on, and we want to stop an inch down from this edge, and we're just going to sew a whole box. So I'm just going to lightly mark the leather with an awl. That should be covered by the stitch line. So we're going to use 1/8 of an inch for this entire box. Grab your remaining panel, and again we want to have the seam on the underneath, so this is the nice neat edge, and you're going to mark it exactly like you did with the first panel. So it's 5 inches down and you've got a 4-inch wide line marked here. We're going to place this on the line, make sure it's centered, and your magnetic snap should be closest to the line. So we're going to sew the sides and the bottom, but we're going to leave the top edge open on this one. This is really handy if you just want a tiny little pocket to put like your £1 trolley coin or something like that. If your presser foot leaves any little marks on your leather, you can roll them out usually with a seam roller. It's quite handy just for getting rid of any marks on leather. So set your panels aside and grab your handles. So on both of these handles, what we want to do is mark it 2 inches in from one end. And then we're going to fold that raw edge up to the line. So I'm going to use a bit of double-sided tape to hold this in place. And do the same on the other end so that we don't have any raw edges. So if you're using nylon webbing, I do recommend just sealing the ends with a lighter. This helps it to stop fraying, which is really handy. Grab your panel with the long leather patch, and what we're going to do is we're going to put this handle on either side so that the edges line up, and we're going to sew a box of stitching so that it matches the stitching on this. And we're going to use 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Going to do that on both sides of the handle. So to make this easier, you can stick it in place using some fabric glue or double-sided tape. We're going to do the exact same thing with the other handle. So we're going to sew a box and we're going to line that up with the top of the leather here and sew each side on. Just make sure that your handle isn't twisted at the top when you're doing this. Now the handles are attached, I'm going to place these panels right sides together. So we've got the leathers together. And what we want to do is match up all the edges so we can sew the bottom edge together. We're going to sew that bottom edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're also going to sew it with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Because this bag could be holding a lot of weight, we want it to be as strong as possible. So we're going to double stitch a lot of the seams. Now that bottom edge is sewn, we're going to mark it 6 inches up from that edge. And we're going to fold this bottom edge up to the line and clip that in place. So again, you can use a seam roller to get a nice crisp edge. And then we're going to clip the bag together up the rest of the edge here. And we're going to do that on both sides. Once both sides are clipped in place, you're going to sew with a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 of an inch on both of those sides. So these seams are going to be left raw. If you are using like a standard canvas, you could just bind your seams just to make sure that you don't have any problems there. And this one here too. If you're using wax canvas or waterproof canvas, there is no need. The seams will be absolutely fine, which is why we're using it for this bag and why we recommend it. So we're now going to turn the bag right side out. Okay, so this bottom seam is going to be the hardest bit, so you just got to kind of keep working your way down the seam, pushing it out. It's a little bit strange because it's got the fold in it, so it can feel a bit weird as you're pushing it out. Okay, so at the bottom it's going to fold up like that. You can use a seam roller again to sort out all of your seams. Just give them a good little press. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is create the fold lines for this bag so that it can fold up. So I'm going to use this ruler. We're going just to the side of the handles. So what I'm going to do is just place the ruler like that and wrap it around and create a nice little crease. Then I'm going to use the seam roller to like really set that crease in place. Going to do the same thing on this side. So then all you need to do is fold it in from each side, and then you can just start rolling it up. Now if you want to have the handles out so you can use them, that's my preferred way. Then I leave them out and you can carry the bag like that. But you can of course just include them in the strap if you prefer, and then you can carry it nice and neat. So depending on the fabric you're using, it'll end up more circular, it may like roll more. Really you can roll this up however you prefer. I do find with wax canvas that it kind of ends up being folded instead, but whichever way you want to do it, the fabric should start to remember these lines after a while, and then it will fold up really easily each time you use it. Okay, so there is our finished bag. Now I'm just going to show you one more thing. I prefer to fold mine with the handles out. So I'll just show you that. I'm just going to roll that up nice and neat. So I leave my handle sticking out and then I close it. It makes it really handy to carry. So thanks for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this free tutorial. And if you want to know more about our sewing patterns and the new ones that are coming out, make sure that you subscribe to our mailing list, which will be linked in the video description below. See you soon.